right? The rebirth, right? The return of a nation. I believe this has a lot to do between this quote unquote dragon that is waking up, right? Theoretically, the head of the snake or of the dragon is in the Venezuela area, right? And so, if you guys have been watching TikTok, and if your frequency is buzzing higher than the average person, then the correlation of this rebirth has to deal with the snake. You see, in ancient Egypt, right, they worshiped the snake, right? They had the snake on the implement, right, to show their higher power, their superiority of intelligence and technology, right? And the person who held this information and knowledge and passed it along to the people was the women, right? They went to go see the women of the past in order to have this type of knowledge, this God level knowledge, right? And so the snake and the woman, in a sense, are one and the same, because the woman is the head of the snake, is the brains, is the architect of the design. The men are the tail, right? That's actually the momentum that is doing the will of what the head wants it to do. And so, if you guys are cultured and you know anything about dragons of the past, right? In the Chinese culture, they tell you about dragons protecting, right? They tell you about Buddha, which is also a black man, right? Of the dragon holding the world, right? The indigenous call it Turtle Island, whereas this idea that the land that we live on is on a giant turtle's back or a dragon's back, right? And so, this is what I want to correlate the black woman to the dragon, because we have to understand that the black woman, right, if we look in nature, we can see the black woman, right? The trees, the bushes that grow, right? Hair similar to like the black woman's hair, how it grows like a bush, right? Copper color, wool, we can find that in nature. But when you realize that that nature is also connected to the dragon, because the soil that we walk on, the trees that grow out of the ground are growing off the back of the dragon, right? So when you put two and two together, the skin that we literally have on us, right, is part dragon. Now let me not lose you, because if our essence of black people is in the nature that we see, right? The same dirt, right? The same color as the copper colored ones, right? The red sand, the dirt in the ground. That same dirt is the dragon. So which means that our DNA is the dragon. The angels being depicted on these biblical references is showing that that is the dragon. You are the dragon. Our ancestors are dragons. This is why they taught our kids in grade school about dinosaurs versus dragons, because then we will be able to be smart enough to understand that a depiction of an angel that has feathered wings flying around is nothing more than a fiery serpent. And they've been trying to tell us this for years, and I just figured it out. Our ancestors are serpents. We, at a higher level frequency, appear as dragons. Now think about it. Satan fell as a dragon. Now falling means that it changed. He was at a higher dimension. At his highest dimension, right, he was viewed and looked at as a dragon, a serpent, right, a cherubim, right? And so we have to also understand this. Satan is also a black man who harbors the 666. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, right? The beast, right? Your body is the beast that is incorporating the light. Your light is basically personified in this 3D realm. So when that light falls from a higher dimension to our dimension, it has to personify in 3D. In order for you to personify, you need the skin to be over the spirit. That skin over the spirit that was taken from the dirt, like they say in the Bible, right? That dirt would have to be the essence of a dragon. And this is why black women and dragons correlate, is because black women are the portals that allow light spirits to come into this world and be personified. So in order for that light to have the 666, that God gene that's inside of you, right, is the dragon. The dragon is the God. Oil is not oil, right? This oil is coming from the soil, deep down from the soil. If that same soil is a part of the dragon, then that could be the blood of the dragon that we are using to power and drive our vehicles. And even though the blood of the dragon is mythical, it's magical, this is probably why they use it as an energy source to power and drive our technology. It makes a lot of sense. And then if you think about it, that means then that we've got the story in reverse. That means that the serpent is the good guy. That means that the God of this world is evil, because you got to think about this, right? If our government is panicking that this quote unquote snake that was frozen, right, by the Arctic technology, right, frozen in time, right? Why wouldn't they be excited that this animal will be returning? Because wouldn't evil like to use evil for evil deeds? Like, if this dragon is the world that we're stepping on, I'm pretty sure they would want it to wake up so that way their world can be destroyed, right? But I don't think that's the case. I believe, just like Godzilla, the movie that they keep telling you God is the dragon, Godzilla is coming back, returns to fight the evil, right? The Egyptian culture teaches that the snake is the protector both in the physical and the spiritual realm. This is why those hieroglyphs had serpents with wings. You got to understand, even the book of Enoch talks of fiery serpents guiding the sun through portals, protecting our sun through portals. Why are serpents protecting the sun? They tell us in Dragon Tales, they tell us in Dragon Ball Z, right? It's the dragon that is granting the wishes. It's the dragon that is the god tier, just like they will tell us in the Chinese cultures, right? Their ancestors of the dragons in the ground are a part of our biological makeup. If the dragon's skin and blood fuse with our light, this is why all these movies, all these shows talk of dragons, right? But I believe that that dragon that's waking up in Venezuela is on the side of good, right? That dragon is connected to the minds of the melanin people, and we're waking up in our consciousness, and I believe that has to deal with the snake. I believe that dragon is on our side and is connected to black women, and black women being the head of the snake, right? That God tier level of consciousness is returning in the masses. This is why they wanted the black woman to fall under lust and sexual immorality and listen to these rap songs and bad idols, is because if they aren't at tier level, everything else follows at low tier level, because women maximize, they can reproduce and make copies of smart God. But when our brain capacity is higher than 10%, we basically form as dragons. 2020.